Good morning.
Okay, it's going to be all boy weapon talk this morning.
All
So
right, this is where I like it.
okay, so obviously as a layperson, we just look at Ukraine and go, "Oh my God, help them, give them whatever they need." This is a genocide going on before our eyes. But so you saw what happened. That the Polish obviously offered to give us their planes, right? Like to give them to the U.S. air base in Germany. So, but this was a surprise. They didn't consult with the U.S. on this, so obviously the U.S. has rejected this offer. What is your take on this, and is there a solution for how to get these planes to Ukraine?
Well, that was a surprise because when I first heard that the offer was made and that the Poles were going to try to fly these aircraft to Ramstein Air Base, then Ukrainian pilots would take off, be refueled, take off. I thought, wow, that's pretty amazing. The United States was going to allow us to use our largest air base in Europe. Turns out, though, this was a clever story the Poles had thought up themselves to keep the Russians from getting mad at them for Ukrainian fighter jets flying across the border. So by letting the Americans take the heat, they would only allow these aircraft to transit their border. I thought that it was an interesting proposal, but now I understand where the Department of Defense and the White House are coming from. It would look like U.S. are sortying, which is military talk for letting take off, hostile fighter aircraft from Germany to go into the Ukraine. So it's going to be very touchy. We said, the Poles could just, but this whole thing is going to be fraud. I think the Poles are just going to have to let those aircraft take off. Russia is not going to attack Poland or the United States from this. But at this point, with Vladimir Putin's Russia, who knows?
Well, I mean, that's obviously the other second scary story. Ukraine warns of radiation leak at Chernobyl because of the power being cut off. I mean, and obviously Russia's in control. What could possibly go wrong comes to mind with this story. But I said this before, and again, way above my pay grade, Malcolm. But I'm like, Putin doesn't even have to use his nukes if he blows up a nuclear plant, does he? I mean, what degree of concern should we have here?
But it's insane because, first off, for those of you guys know that I was old Navy chief. I'm qualified in submarines, which means I had to do watches on a miniature nuclear reactor that was powering an atomic submarine. So you have to know everything there is to know about that. So what is the real issue? Reactors are controlled. The uranium flow and the nuclear fusion that's happening goes hotter or colder depending on the kind of control rod system that you have in place that goes up and down and controls the flow of the atoms, right?
Yeah.
If those control rods are up or do not come down, that reactor gets very, 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 very hot and will, if that control system goes out of whack, literally melt through the floor. So, which is what happened at Chernobyl. Chernobyl actually melted through, created a steam cloud that exploded the roof of the building, right? Because, as you know, it's just a giant teapot, right?
Yeah.
So, with Russia cutting off the power, it means the reactor control rod only being elevated and lowered using the diesel generator. The diesel generators are usually outside. So if they run out of fuel or somebody drops a mortar into it and the power at the power plant goes off, that power plant will go into meltdown again.
See, we were saying, obviously, if radiation leaks, it can leak to Russia and Belarus.
It will go
so what
everywhere.
I don't. But this is where we're in. How insane is Putin territory?
I think he's using it deliberately as a method to bring people to this thought. He's using nuclear power, whether it's through the collapse of a fission reactor that already created one of the world's worst nuclear reactors. Although you got to give Fukushima its props.
Yeah.
This is just insane because it could only be done deliberately. Why would he have the power turned off? unless he, it's
Okay.
nuts.
All right.
And
So
now we have to
let's
start thinking Putin's in the nutty category.
yeah. Well, so, yeah, and obviously the reports are he's getting angrier and more desperate by the moment,
Right.
right? I mean, what was this story? Hang on. That Putin's invasion of Ukraine has alienated some of his top military officials, causing them to grow increasingly worried as the Russian military continues to meet fierce resistance from Ukrainians. Many of them are discouraged, frightened, are making apocalyptic forecasts. No one is rejoicing. Many understand this is a mistake, but in the course of doing their duty, they come up with explanations in order to somehow come to terms with it. Officials are carefully enunciating the word cluster F when describing the invasion. I mean, the fact that he has to try to recruit foreign fighters, what does that say, Malcolm?
Well, I mean, Ukraine's recruiting foreign fighters, but Russia has 75%.
No. So Russia recruiting foreign fighters like Syrians is what I'm
the
asking.
Syrians.
Yeah.
Well, also the Chechens that they're bringing. They're bringing in more Chechens. I just saw a parade of about 200 Chechen special forces there. And, guys from Dagestan, and they were trying to bring guys. There's a rumor that the Belarusians are about to a big way in Northwest.
Oh boy, we got a bad connection.
Bad connection.
Yeah, Malcolm, you still there?
Is losing, and mark my words, everybody remember this. I said this at the beginning by about day 3. I said something is very wrong with this, and I think the Ukrainians have a chance of winning this.
Yeah,
Russia has not met any of its strategic objectives, apart from the land bridge between Kherson, Mariupol, and Donetsk, and they really haven't achieved that all at once. And they're so desperate, they're starting to bring just that as a settlement for the war, to end the war. So something is seriously going on. Putin understands that there's a key factor you need to understand here, Stephanie. He could not only lose the war, he could lose the Russian army.
Yeah.
75% of that army is trucks, right?
Yeah.
And the tanks that are on the leading edge of it, these guys don't want to fight. So, he could wake up one day and someone decide to terminate his command.
Yeah.
And which would be the best thing for everybody.
Yep, absolutely. What so Malcolm, let's go back momentarily for what do you think is going to happen with the planes, Polish or otherwise? I mean, I guess what I'm not understanding is what's the difference between getting them Javelins and getting them planes, if it's just like you said, a question of how do we get them to them? I mean, are we getting you?
Well, as I understand it, they're getting plane loads of weapons now down in southern Poland. I believe in the last week, 18 plane loads of missiles came there. They're dominating everything below 10,000 feet. Russian aircraft can't go below. I know the other day, 2 days ago, they lost 3 aircraft in an hour. And, there's videos of these shoot downs.
Yeah.
The Russians do not have air supremacy, much less total air superiority or total air dominance, which means that every inch of that country is theirs. They don't have it. So the Ukrainians need those aircraft to replace the combat losses. They only had 25 MiG-29s when this thing started. If you could replace most of those, they're flying missions. They're carrying out strikes. But if you could double or triple that, that would be helpful. But, I'm a big believer that asymmetrically, this thing is we are not, using our imaginations enough. I think that companies should be offering the Ukrainian government all the drones they can carry.
Yeah.
With as many weapons as they can carry.
I agree.
And
I
the
agree.
United States government should be encouraging that because drones are a game changer, especially the Switchblade suicide drone, right? The kamikaze drone.
Yeah.
It has a little camera on the front. It goes up, it sees a target, and it drops and blows up on that target.
So
instead of just taking pictures.
And Malcolm, I know this always happens in war, but what do you make of what the Russian casualties are? Right? Because, Russia's saying, 500, Ukraine's saying 12,000. I guess is somewhere the estimate's in the middle, right? Like 5,000 from, I don't know if that's us or.
Yeah, but if you look at it,
UN?
The Russians, the Ukrainians are saying that they've destroyed 120 main battle tanks. There's 4 men each inside those. And when you get hit, you don't survive for the most part.
Yeah.
Some of them do. Rarely do they do. The modern weapons on the battlefield, like the Stinger, I'm sorry, not Stinger, the Javelin anti-tank missile, Javelin anti-tank missile does not give you a warning. It comes right through the roof of that place, and it detonates all of your ammunition.
Yeah.
So there's no surviving a hit by a Javelin unless you happen to be outside the vehicle hiding in the woods,
So,
of which we've seen a lot of abandoned vehicles.
yeah.
So those numbers, I would go into the halfway.
Yeah.
I would go into the 5,000 to 6,000 range.
Yeah.
You know, the Pentagon's 2,000 is they said they have low confidence in that. Ukrainians may be overestimating by a third. People generally overestimate by
Sure.
a third. But these are devastating numbers.
But
They are
that's going to
worse than
start to
anything that happened in the United States in all of the wars of terrorism.
that's, you know, on top of all the sanctions and the Russian, the ruble being worth less than a penny, the body bags coming home. I mean, you know, and we already have a lot of people braving being protesting in Russia. You know, that's one of those things you can't really hide, right? The number of body bags
Right.
coming home.
Well, you know, it's the funerals that you can't hide. Okay, I mean, you could send home ashes. You could say the person was killed in action and lost overseas. It's the grieving mothers you can't hide, and that's what the Ukrainians are emphasizing, and the news media is starting to catch. But you know, this is Russia. I saw a video, by the way, really interesting. One of the first convoys to enter into Ukraine was flying the flag of the Soviet Union. I'm not joking. You know, they thought they were doing some retro commie stuff, and now they're finding out that you know, Special Cargo 200 is going back in very large numbers.
Yeah. By the way, I heard you on TV the other day say you're one of the only military experts saying that Ukraine can win this, but it seems like more and more people, as usual, are coming around to your point of view. The head of Britain Armed Forces speculated Putin's decimated military forces currently involved in the invasion will not be able to provide him the victory he desires. He said the incursion is not going well. I think we're also seeing remarkable resistance by Ukraine, both its armed forces and its people. We're seeing the unity of the whole globe coming together, applying pressure to Russia. Russia is suffering. Russia is isolated power. It's less powerful than it was 10 days ago. I think there's a real risk because Russia is struggling with its objectives on the ground in Ukraine, and we've seen from Russia's previous actions in Syria and Chechnya where it will turn up the violence. It will lead to more indiscriminate killing and more indiscriminate destruction. I mean, when I watch the scenes right now on TV, some of it just looks like rubble, like he has reduced areas just to rubble, which I guess he thinks he's going to rule over, right? I mean, it's...
Well, fortunately, in the level of combat, even with the level of intensity that we've had in the last 2 weeks, it isn't large swaths. They haven't turned entire cities into Stalingrad. It's these pinpoint areas. I personally, I mean, I've been there. I think they can relatively clean it up quickly.
Yeah.
But the question is, how many rockets do they have? How many of these artillerymen want to keep firing into civilians and expect to have any mercy? Like the Ukrainian Special Forces said. They said when they start doing special raids, they're going to start raiding behind the lines artillery units, and they promise no survivors.
Yeah.
You're going to keep throwing artillery shells into an urban area with a threat like that that's not only viable, it's probable.